Hello there. I would just like to say from the start that this is probably going to be the first and only time I ever make a video of this type, so I apologize if this critique is a little rough. Moving on, I love the Borderlands series. When Borderlands 3 was shown at E3 2019 during the Xbox conference, at that point I hadn't really played much of the games, but I immediately fell on the hype train and played all the games up to that point, including the Commander Lilith DLC and Borderlands 2. When Borderlands 3 came out, I thought the gameplay was amazing. The writing could have been better, which is what I'm going to get into here with this critique, but to this day, I still love the series. I recently played Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I thought that was a really good game, or at least the base game was good. The DLC, of course, is a different topic of its own. I'm not very happy with that either, and I haven't touched it since I haven't touched the game at all since I beat it, but I really did enjoy the base game. And even now, I am in a way looking forward to the movie. I don't think it's probably going to be that great, but I am looking forward to it nonetheless. I can't wait to see more about Tales from the Borderlands 2 later this year, and I can't wait for that lore book to be released. For me, the gameplay in the games is absolutely important. That's paramount. But my primary interest in the Borderlands games is the characters, story, and the lore. And speaking of characters, Lilith is my favorite character in the entire series, and she's partially the inspiration for why I wanted to make this critique in the first place. Here, I am going to critique the cutscene in Borderlands 3 where Lilith fights Tyreen and has her powers stolen. And I'm going to stop and critique various points in the cutscene because I feel they could have handled this a lot better, but I'll get into that as we progress. Okay, so the context here is that the Crimson Raiders are loading up Sanctuary 3 with their people, fuel, and the astronav chip so they can properly take off into space and go to Promethea. As you can clearly tell, Lilith is standing right outside this big hangar door right here. Notice, she's standing right outside the door. As we walk toward it, there's going to be a series of explosions occurring behind her, and the door is suddenly going to slam shut, where she will be confronted by Troy and Tyreen. But note, she is standing right outside the door. This is the first error you're going to notice in the cutscene once it starts.
Hell?
Okay, before I actually get to critiquing the first part of the cutscene, I would like to point out that the Vault Hunters are trapped behind this closed door in this room, and they don't think to blow it up with explosives. Like, who cares if they damage the place? They got this ship ready. All they have to do is take off and leave. Who cares if they blow up this hangar door? They're not going to use it anymore. Mose can equip Iron Bear with explosives with grenade launchers to easily blow this up so they could get to Lilith and stop the Calypsos from hurting her. But by the time they get to her, it's too late. She's already lost her powers, and the Calypsos have escaped with the vault map for Pandora and are already on their way to Promethea. Okay, so right from the start here, we have some problems. In this far shot, Lilith is standing a very great distance away from the door, and the Calypso twins suddenly appear out of nowhere. Did they get out of some vehicle, like a dropship or a truck or something? Or do they just magically walk off screen? Of course, that's probably what happened here. But they suddenly show up with no explanation, and Lilith doesn't even ask, like, where the hell did you come from? And this is before Tyreen steals her powers, so she can't teleport anywhere. She doesn't have that ability yet, and yet here they suddenly are out of nowhere.
Firehawk, just give me the map.
Okay, this is a very strange line of dialogue considering it's the first spoken line in this cutscene. This implies this confrontation has been going on for quite a while, and maybe it has been. Maybe there was a longer intro to this cutscene leading up to this moment, and they cut it out for pacing issues, because Borderlands isn't exactly known for having long, drawn-out cutscenes such as this, and even in its final state, this cutscene is about 4 minutes long, making it one of the longest, if not the longest cutscene in the entire game. But this is a weird way to start it off. They really thought this was a good idea.
No way.
Why is Lilith holding the vault map right in front of the Calypsos for them to take it? Her priority was keeping it safe so the vaults wouldn't fall into the wrong hands, and yet she's holding it right in front of them here. She wasn't holding it before the cutscene started, so why does she suddenly have it here?
Go! Let's do this!
Got it!
And this completely proves that holding the very item you're trying to keep safe from your enemies directly in front of said enemies is a very bad idea. Okay, notice that Lilith is able to shoot a fire beam out of her hand. This will be very important to note later. When Lilith and Tyreen were both shooting beams at each other, they appeared to be evenly matched. But when Lilith is the only one shooting a beam at Tyreen, she appears to be guarding it, but it's really hard to tell. But she doesn't appear to guard it very well, but she's able to run toward Lilith and simply knock her backwards. Okay.
This is gold!
So Tyreen gets knocked back off screen, and you don't even hear the impact of her hitting the ground. No thump, thud, or anything of the sort. Nothing. Okay, I get it that Troy was holding the vault map and Lilith needed it back, but did she really have to sucker punch him like that? All he was doing was filming the fight. He wasn't fighting her. They make her look like an asshole for taking down someone who's a non-combatant.
You're a siren?
Yeah. Well, runs in the family.
It didn't seem like she had a lot of time to react, but Lilith could have simply teleported when she saw Tyreen coming, reappeared behind her, and knocked her down like she did to Troy, but instead she just stands there like a deer in headlights and lets herself be grabbed.
I'm the siren. He's just a parasite. Literally, when we were born, our father had to cut him off me.
Going back to what I said earlier about Lilith being able to fire beams out of her hand, she's holding on to Tyreen's arm, and yet she can't simply burn it off or something. Tyreen is in the process of stealing Lilith's power by leeching it from her, but it's not something she can just pull off in a few seconds. It takes a little while here for her to steal it completely, but yet Lilith can't do anything at all to fight back. She's completely powerless here.
Ty, come on! We're live in 3, 2.
What is up, brothers and sisters? God Queen Tyreen coming to you live. We got something real special for you today. Your #1 most requested murder. It's the great heretic herself, the Firehawk. Well, look who got plucked. Smile.
Why does Tyreen refer to Lilith as being dead for her audience, even though both she and Troy know full well she's still alive? Yes, she's on the verge of losing consciousness, but she is still alive. They know she's alive, but for some reason, she refers to her as being dead, and when they pose with her, her eyes even open a little bit to show that she isn't dead. So why she did that, I have no idea. At this point, I'm not going to play the rest of the cutscene because this is the last thing I wanted to critique here. In closing, all I can say is the way they handled this confrontation was completely piss poor. They make Lilith look like a chump. Instead of having her put up a valiant fight against Tyreen and maybe lose because Tyreen overpowers her with brute force and raw strength, they make Lilith look like a complete chump to give Tyreen plot armor, which is one of the absolute worst things you can do when it comes to character writing, and yet they saw nothing wrong with it. What the hell were they thinking?